haven't gotten my voice all the way back yet, but Cameron Jarrell Newton, we're going to talk. Let's go.
On your mark, get set. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning. Kevin Durant, you should have left California.
This Brownsexual upset me in having to bring this teenage idiot from Wisconsin into a sports conversation. Are you really surprised that the Cowboys are giving up on Ezekiel Elliott?
Whoa. Hell no! Well, no one cares about baseball.
Bitch, are you for real?
Oh, yeah. Time to get this party started. 8 after the hour, and we welcome you in. Good morning. I lost my mic. Okay, there we go. Take two. Good morning. Welcome to the post-championship Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning with Carl Johnson. Glad to have y'all with us. We are stacked and packed with some great sports talk as we take you on a 120-minute journey with the best sports talk show in the region, across the nation, and around the world. We welcome to those of you watching via our YouTube channels, Snowman Multimedia and the Shady Sports Network. We also want to welcome those of you watching on I lost my mic again. Hold on a second, folks. I really need to switch out this mixer. Okay, there we got it. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Want to welcome those of you, as I began to mention, watching via YouTube on either the Snowman Multimedia YouTube channel or the Shady Sports Network YouTube channel. Welcome those of you listening on WIRU-DB in Chicago, WQEE in Atlanta, KSOS in Salem, Oregon, and WLEO in Baltimore. Also, welcome to those of you listening on our flagship station, Snowman Multimedia Sports Radio. And now, oh, that's what happened. There's a short that I have to deal with. And welcome to those of you watching on BS3 TV as well as Zebo TV. Did anybody see what happened last night? In particular, the game in Santa Clara. Anybody see that? Anybody see what happened in Baltimore, Maryland? You didn't, huh? Well, I certainly did. And Victor, who I plan to have on here in the next 30 seconds, I hope, kind of we went opposite ways when we did our picks. Now, we will review the AFC Championship a little later on in the program. But I want to start with the thriller in Manila. I'm sorry, the thriller in Santa Clara, in which the Detroit Lions, I'm going to say this as plain as I can and as honest as I can. The Detroit Lions choked. Period, point blank, end of story. And this is Dan Campbell's fault. How can you gamble not once but twice on fourth down, and both of those gambles produce points for San Francisco? You were dominating on the ground. You were dominating. You were dominating. The Detroit Lions were dominating this game, and it had me so angry that I went off. If y'all watched the live stream last night, and I hope you did, and that you continue, it had me so triggered. I really thought the 49ers had quit playing. I did. I really thought they had quit playing. Stupid me. And it took Victor to knock some sense into my head. It really did. It really took Victor to really knock some sense into my head. Period. It really knocked some sense. It really took Victor to knock some sense into my head. And this is my team. This is my team. UFL Fan Den, I beg your pardon. And Big Baby Jonathan has joined us for the early part of the show. And, you know, if you take the points, if you're Dan Campbell and you take the points, you make it a 3-possession game. And for a while, it was a 3-possession game at halftime. 24-7. Let me say that again for those of you in the cheap seats. It was 24-7 at the half. The Niners were dead. They were gone. They were halfway through the ring ropes. And give this 49er team credit, which I will do in full as a fan and as a journalist, which some people, Trey Larkins, claim to be, but not, and I'm just picking on them for that. They fought back. They fought all the way back. You can point to several plays that flipped this game around. You can easily point to the lowest of the low-hanging fruit, which would be the fourth down gambles, which I mentioned earlier. One in the third period, one in the fourth period. The one in the third period was costly because it let the 49ers back into the game. The one in the fourth period was extremely costly because it sealed the game. It flat out sealed the game. And if you really want to, really want to look at it, there is one fantastic play made by Brandon Ayuk, which led to the tying points. And that was the ricochet by the Bay. Went off the defender's helmet. Brandon Ayuk, with his concentration level at 1,000,000, kept his eye on the ball, grabbed it, and instead of it being at worst an interception and less than worst an incompletion, turned into a 51-yard completion, which set up the tying score, which set up one of the two tying scores. It made it 24-17 at the time as Brock Purdy, and believe me, I got a lot to say about Brock Purdy and the 49ers as we go on here. Now I'm joined. Let me make sure I get the right button here, because he was with me last night, and the he I'm talking about is the one and only To Chicago we go. Good morning, Victor. How are you?
Good morning, Snowman. How you doing?
I don't have my voice back yet.
I didn't think you did. I was gonna say, have you descended from Cloud 9 yet?
Hell no. Hey, you know what, Bishop? Where you at? Where you at? Ask me that question again, please.
Have you descended from cloud 9 yet?
Bishop, please answer that question.
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. To the no, no, no.
I didn't think so.
Let's see. I didn't sleep happily. I happily didn't sleep because I kept watching the highlights, trying to get my thoughts together, and there will be 2 special editions of that 49ers show, and then beginning with the draft, we're going to get more consistent with that. Let's see. This tell you anything?
No, it certainly does. I'm surprised you're not wearing the hat.
Empty. It's empty.
I'm surprised you're not wearing
I got
the hat.
You mean this?
Yep.
Where's
inside out. It's
you mean
inside out.
this?
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I wanted to wear it, but I have a headset on. I don't have any speakers.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough.
Gotta be practical. Look at me. I'm listening to my wife. I gotta be practical here. But there is so much for us to touch on from Championship Sunday. Jay Spivey will join us at the bottom of hour 2. Ryan McCarthy is unavailable because he's just getting over the flu. So Victor and I will take you through most of the show today. Tell me and I asked you this question while I was taking my daughter to work last night, or right after I dropped my daughter off at work last night. And I know this is going to cost me a quarter in the swear jar.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what the hell Dan Campbell was thinking on 2 occasions.
I'm pretty sure most of Detroit is asking the same question. I think most of Greater Michigan is asking that same question.
I mean, listen, Playmaker said it in the chat last night when we were doing our live stream. 30 minutes, Detroit. 30 minutes. And since I already, there we go. That's 2. And there we go. Every at the for my birthday, every coin that goes in the swear jar on my birthday, it's going to turn into a contribution to the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer.
Excuse me for a minute.
So, what the hell was that? What the hell was that? If you take the points, it's a 3-possession game. Easy. You had the 49ers on the ropes, and you didn't knock them out.
Yeah.
You had Victor, you said it perfectly last night, and a lot of people said it in the chat also. They had the 49ers not on the ropes, but through the ropes.
Had them beat. You start off tremendously, taking your opening drive all the way.
Yep.
The Niners don't get points off of a missed field goal. You take that back for another touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Purdy ends up throwing an interception, which is rare for him.
Yes.
And I believe, and that also turns into a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. It did.
You get to the end of the first half where you have the lead, you have the ball. All you need to do is put it through the uprights, and your team gets the lead, stays in a commanding lead in the half.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners come out, they don't convert on their first drive. You now have an opportunity
to knock them out.
To knock them out the box.
They have an opportunity to knock them out, to deliver the knockout blow. And let me say hi to a very special mutual friend of ours, Bobby Wright, aka Bobby Fat Mac from Chicago State. He says, quote, "They are who we thought they were." Dennis Green, attorney for the 49ers.
What's going on, Bobby?
But you have a chance to knock them out, to send 70,000 people home silent.
Mm-hmm.
I even heard a YouTuber say, yeah, I even heard a YouTuber say, and you're going to love this. I heard a YouTuber say the 49ers needed to be humbled. Well, in the first half, they were.
They were.
Period.
They really were.
They were really humbled in the first half, to the point, and I'm going to show this on a later show this week. I went off at halftime.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
I completely went off and I spoke the truth. It seemed like they quit.
It seemed like they played down
Mm-hmm.
to me. It's like they played down to the Lions level as if they were like the Lions from years past.
And that's such a fabulous point. And that was one that you kept that you kept saying. UFL fan den, 4th and 3 should have went for it. I'm still PO'd about the Lions, had them hands down. I don't know why 4th and 3 scared them so much, because they're so used to gambling. I'll answer that question. Kurt. They're so used to gambling.
And at some point, you don't need to gamble. It's not necessary.
If it's a 27-7 game instead of 24-7, if it's 27-10, I beg your pardon. If it's 27-10, do the Niners have all the confidence in the world to come all the way back? No, they do not. I mean, they had it start in the second half. Don't get it twisted. They had all the confidence in the world in the second half because, Dennis Queen said it best. We are who we thought they were. And a lot of fans that went against San Francisco, not the ones that were being playful about it,
but the serious ones.
Yes, thank you. Say it again, please.
The ones who were serious, the ones who really don't like the Niners being as quote unquote cocky as they've been.
I watched some YouTubers last night, man, and the hate was real.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were, and you know this. You know this. You and I have examined videos together. It's like they were saying,
"So goodbye to you and farewell to thee,"
before the knockout punch was even thrown. And in this case, the knockout punch was never thrown.
No.
The knockout punch was never thrown.
It was an opening flurry, but in the end, you can always punch out of an opening flurry. And that the other issue was that the Lions completely abandoned the run in the second half.
Yeah.
They got one stop on Montgomery, and that was it. It was like, oh, they stopped Montgomery. All right, abandon ship. Now you put all of the game on Jared Goff's shoulders, which he really shouldn't have had.
Yes. I mean, and the Dixon Way is with us from Atlanta. So Atlanta's in the house with us. Good morning. Good morning to the Dixon family. But they choked.
Yeah, they sure did.
They choked. That's why you play 60 minutes of football, Detroit. I got so many takes today, it's not even funny.
And this is going to be a hard, bitter pill for them to swallow and a hard lesson for them to take, but it's one I think that will make them better.
I think so too. Green Bay's last week, same thing. We sent you a raid yesterday, but you was away from the stream. Have a great day. I got the raid when I came back. Because there were like, I think 15 or 20 different folks that raided me yesterday. So I truly appreciate the raid that I got. And I think I had a chance to get all the comments. The Super Bowl is upon us, but the NBA, NHL, and college hoops are in action as well. And coming this spring, Major League Baseball. And if you want the best action, BetUS.com is the way to go. The sportsbook is celebrating its 30th year with the best action at the right time. Log on to BETUS.com. Enter the code Snowman for a 125% deposit match. BetUS.com, where the game begins. We'll pause for a break. We got more from Championship Sunday. VIKALAAAH riding shotgun with us. Jay Spivey joins us later. This is the Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Back in a flash.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. You Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
We're off and rolling on this Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning. This Wednesday night, Caitlin Clark and the 5th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes pay a visit to Evanston for a date with the Northwestern Wildcats. We begin our coverage at 7:45 Eastern Time with the BetUS.com pregame show, and yours truly will take you from start to finish with the play-by-play starting at 8 p.m. Jump on to YouTube.com /@Snowman Multimedia to follow all of the action. Victor Locke joins me in riding shotgun, sitting in for Ryan McCarthy, who was out with the flu. He's recovering from the flu. Ryan, we want you to get well so you can join us next week. I'll probably take something with him later. We're talking the NFC Championship, and I'll say what I want to say to a certain former quarterback, capitalize the word former for the next segment. But I want to say this. Can we finally put some respect, and I know you have already, but can we finally put some respect on the San Francisco 49ers? The last 2 years, they've come up short in the NFC Championship. They choked away a lead against the Rams, and they were chopped by the Eagles thanks to Hassan Reddick, who made a fabulous play.
Mm-hmm.
They were down 24-7 at the half. They came back and won. And yet there are still people, you've seen it, as have I, this morning, that still want them to go down. Why is that?
Because again, it's the thing of the young upstarts. They don't feel like they've proven themselves, that they've paid their dues. You got a young Brock Purdy who is now in his 3rd year.
Mm-hmm.
Came out like a dynamo, had a great season, 2 great seasons, lost in the championship game last year. And again, after Cleveland and Cincinnati, after those big losses, the question started to arise.
Yeah.
That, is this guy really as big as we think he is? He really as good as we think he is? I think, I personally think, people's like, I personally think he's fake. And it's like, no, if you've seen them play, they're not fake.
Mm-hmm. He's a franchise quarterback, period, point blank. End of story. Dixon Wade says, man, I feel Dan Campbell completely choked by not kicking those field goals. He gave the 49ers complete momentum, and the fumble was the icing on the cake. Absolutely
sure
true. This game reminded me of the Dan Quinn choke job with my Falcons. Yep.
You know what's funny? The fact that we're talking about going to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Gambling capital of the world.
Yep.
And Dan Campbell proved he's probably one of the worst gamblers in the NFL.
1 for 3 on fourth down. Want a stat from the game? 1 for 3. And that one was the last score of the game.
Mm-hmm.
When you're down 2 scores because you didn't kick those field goals.
And again, the first one wasn't even needed. What turned the game? We always talk about what moment turned the game around. What moment turned the game around? For me, it was that fourth down where they decided to go for it instead of taking the points before the half. Because now you gave the Niners all the momentum.
And you mentioned something last night, late in the first half, 21-7 Lions. They stopped running the football then.
Mm-hmm.
They kept going for the home run plays.
The two home run throws where you're making Jared Goff just uncork one. That you save that for the end. You save that for if in the unlikely event that they stop you on 2 downs,
which they did.
The football, right? In the first half, they couldn't stop Montgomery at all.
Mm-mm. They couldn't stop either back.
Running over the Niner defense.
They couldn't stop either running back. Not Jahmyr Gibbs, not David Montgomery. And Montgomery got them started with the first play of the game when he got 15 yards.
So then
first play of the game
running? Why do you stop running? It makes no sense.
None whatsoever.
So he messes that up. He then goes for it on fourth down, which gives the Niners momentum back because, hey, this guy stopped running the football.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving us a chance to get back in it. And that's like what happens.
And the crazy thing is they made the 49ers one-dimensional the entire first half. It worked. And then they made themselves one-dimensional.
Yep.
The entire second half.
Yep.
They made themselves one-dimensional.
If you're a Lions fan, you are so aggravated right now because you could 30 minutes, you could have been talking about yourselves going to Super Bowl for the first time in a long time.
First time ever.
Instead, you're talking about how you choked it away to the San Francisco 49ers.
And you know the thing is, and I'll continue to say it, the 2 fourth downs flipped the game. The fumble flipped the game.
Mm-hmm. But there were some monumental catches too on the Niners.
Brandon Ayuk, anyone?
Brandon Ayuk earned his extension.
Because he had
that contract extension.
He had no business catching what that 51-yard pass.
Mm-hmm.
What is what's the term someone sent to me? The ricochet by the bay.
Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't catch that, right? Even though it was a defensive pass interference, if he doesn't catch that ball, talk about getting close, but not a touchdown immediately.
Exactly.
And it gives your defense a chance to be stalwart. The Lions didn't have that.
Well, Dixon says, I can't give Kyle Shanahan any credit because I feel like him and Dan Quinn cost us a Super Bowl by not kicking the field goal when Julio made the catch of the year. We go up 11 points and it's over. True, but I'm giving Kyle Shanahan a lot of credit as coach of the 49ers for motivating his team yesterday.
Yeah, because he put a foot in their rear end.
He did.
Somehow, some way, because that was a completely different Niner team when they came out of the locker room.
And even though they went 3 and out on the first drive of the game, on the first drive of the second half, I beg your pardon.
Right.
They had the motivation.
Yeah.
They had the motivation.
And if you were the Lions, that should have been the moment you went right back to the run, keep chewing off the clock, and chew your way to either a field goal or a touchdown. but they completely abandoned the run, started throwing, making Jared Goff make really poor throws. And again, that
Very
fumble, oof. Icing on the cake.
I'll gladly put a coin in the swear jar for this term, and you know it from my dad. Piss poor.
Yes.
Piss poor.
Absolutely.
The Lions had piss poor game management in the second half of the game. Toward the tail end of the first half, as you mentioned it last night, you mentioned it this morning. Toward the end of the first half, the game management by Dan Campbell became piss poor when they were throwing the football, looking for a home run play, trying to deliver the knockout punch, and you had an entire second half to play.
Right. You don't need the knockout punch right now. You don't need knockout punch right now. Get you some points, make a really good cushion, go to the half with the lead.
Mm-hmm.
They get 3 and out. You go back to what got you that 3 touchdown streak in the first half.
Yep. Calvin Rogers, he says, damn, I got to watch the Niners again. Yep. You most certainly do. Bang, bang, Niner gang. And I'll put 2 in the swear jar for that. But the Lions, no, it's a combination of the Lions choking this game away and the 49ers taking it.
Yeah, it's a mixture of Niner win, Lions loss.
You nearly slipped.
Yeah, I did.
You nearly had a Freudian slip.
Yeah, I'm reminded of what happened last year in the divisional round. It was Niners win and a Lions loss, because the Lions, if they don't mess up like they did, they don't give that fumble up, they don't, miss those 4th down conversions.
Mm-hmm.
They turn that first one into a touchdown, we're talking game over. We're talking about the Lions going to Las Vegas.
Yep. Game set match. It was a game set match. It was game set match.
But again, we can talk about shoulda, coulda, wouldas till the cows come home.
Yep.
The thing is that the Niners are going to Super Bowl.
And I get so sick of so many people outside of our circle saying it's the Lions' time, just like people were saying it's Lamar Jackson's time. Until you do it on the field, it's not.
Right. I mean, I would have bought that. I would have bought that it was the Lions' time. I didn't think they would get this far, honestly. Yeah, I thought they would win the division. I thought they would, advance into probably the divisional round.
And you called it 2 years ago that they would win the division. You said this 2 years ago, Thanksgiving.
Yep.
You said this 2 years ago.
But the thing is that you got to prove that in the field that it's your time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lions in the first half proved it, but you got to finish it.
Every Lions fan is thinking this.
I'm getting too old for this.
They got to be thinking right now. I don't blame them either. They have to be thinking that right now, because they're just sitting there. It's like, I'll outline it. I can outline it this way.
Mm-hmm.
When that 4th down gamble missed, it's like the entire city of Detroit said, here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah. It was basically like, oh no, here's where the brakes come off.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where the wheels fall off.
And every Lions fan, after that first 4th down gamble didn't work, they have to be thinking,
Bitch, are you for real?
Against Campbell. They had to be thinking that. The Niners turned it into 3, and then the fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, the game is tied, and the next thing you know, the Niners are up 10. 27 unanswered points. And Cole said it best, and safe travels to Cole and his wife on their way back home. It was a tidal wave.
Yeah,
it was a tidal wave that became a massive flood, and the Lions could do nothing to stop it.
No. It's something I remember when I was at halftime. We were talking to Sensei Drew. He said, if the Lions keep on this pace for another 30 minutes, they're going to the Super Bowl. And I said, operative word, if.
And y'all got to remember, if you watched the live stream last night, I went completely off at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
I went completely off, and then I stepped away, which is when the Dixon family sent me their raid, which I wound up getting.
Mm-hmm.
I went off because I was so disgusted with what was going on in the first half of that game. I was so disgusted. I cannot tell you how many Eagles fans were chirping at me, how many Packer fans were chirping at me. Dear God. Dear God.
Oh, yeah.
The Packer fans that were chirping at me, a couple of which I'm very, very close to. One of which said to, let me do this right. Cole, this is for you. One of which said to me, quote, "We had y'all that game and you know it." Close quote. I borrow from Victor. Operative word, had.
Mm-hmm.
Had. And where is this? You know what? To Lions fans, I hate to do this to you, but the truth is the truth.
You blew it. Capiche?
Simple as it gets. Simple as it gets. They blew it. They absolutely blew it. Let's take a pause, and when y'all get back, I have a message for Cam Newton. And I might be putting a few more coins in the swear jar. Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Back in a flash.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. You kids from the block. New edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck. Matt Damon. Go yourself again. Jason Whitlock.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze claw.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do two circles, and that translates to, I can be the black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel. Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Well, SNWMN Multimedia is what you need on Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere else. It's Snowman Multimedia. Okay. Now I'm going to get to something, finally, that I have been wanting to do for a couple of weeks, but I waited. Why? Wanted to see what happened in the NFC Championship. And I finally I said it before, but then then some things happen. And I'm trying to find that one clip from Cam Newton. And you know which clip it is. Screw the clip. I will just repeat what Cam Newton said. When he said about Brock, he put Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott all in his same thought. When he said, give me this button. Quote, they're not winning because of him meaning Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
Close quote. Let me back up a little bit. When he said, and I'll do this again properly, quote, there's a difference between a game manager and a game changer. Then he said what he said about Brock Purdy when he said, I'm going to ruffle some feathers, but I'm being honest. Well, Mr. Newton, your assessment now with Brock Purdy going to the Super Bowl is about as dishonest as it gets. So you, my friend, get the pleasure of a double play.
And now the trolling begins.
Shut up. Not only do you get this, Cameron Jarrell Newton, you get this as well.
Why not go over the triple play?
Why not? Start with the reality check as we go around the horn. Brock Purdy is a game changer, period. Richard Sherman, and I love Richard Sherman, and I love the Richard Sherman podcast. So Brock Purdy is not a game changer, huh? He changed the last 2 playoff games. He changed the game last night. He didn't do well in the first half, but he changed the hell out of the game last night. Oh, and you know what he did better than you? He ran the football strategically. Oh, you didn't hear me. Let me say it again. You know what he did better than you, Cam Newton? He ran the football strategically.
And efficiently.
The last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, he scrambled strategically. He scrambled when the team needed him. George Kittle called those quarterback runs last night sick and in a very good way. He had 52 yards rushing in the second half. He was an absolute magician against that Lions pressure. So much so that on one play, which had Victor falling out of his seat, it looked like the blitz was going to get home. Somehow Purdy squirted out the back door and found a tiptoeing Kyle Juszczyk for an 11-yard gain.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that Victor messaged me during the break and went, how the hell did he do that? Let me be honest, I was asking that question, and I sat there and watched the doggone thing. You know what else a game changer does to help change the game? Keep his team in it. If this were, I'm going to go there. If this were any other team, save Kansas City, that's a blowout.
Yeah, it is.
If this were any other team, save the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, and we all know what he can do, it's a blowout. We're talking about Jared Goff heading to Vegas and not Brock Purdy. Yes. But you know what Brock Purdy did? He changed the game. Matter of fact, he changed your narrative. Matter of fact, he blew your narrative up in your face. And this is long after you walked your comments back, and you didn't need to walk your comments back. You put them out there.
Stand by them.
And you were too chicken to stand by them.
Go ahead.
Here.
That's one.
You know what, Cam Newton? You were too chicken to stand by. I did it wrong. Try again. You were too chicken to stand by your comments. I am not. So a lot of people won't stand by a lot of people in mainstream media, and I've said this for years at a time, won't stand by because they're too scared to stand by their comments. I am not. And I'll admit when I was wrong. I was wrong for the first half last night. I was proven right in the second half. And the second half is where Brock Purdy last week and this week won the game.
He was a game changer of the highest order in that last 30 minutes.
So to complete the first part of this triple play, Cam Newton, watch your mouth when it comes to Brock Purdy. Now, the roast continues. Do you even know what a game changer is? Because right now we got two of them playing in the Super Bowl 2 weeks from Sunday. Patrick Mahomes, a two-time champion, and Brock Purdy seeking his first. You know what, Patrick, and you correctly identify Patrick Mahomes as a game changer. Okay? I take Lamar Jackson out of your equation as a game changer. I will get to that during the second half of the show. Patrick Mahomes has two of something you tried to pursue and didn't get. Championships. He's got 2 Super Bowl titles.
And had the best opportunity because you should have beat the crap out of the Denver Broncos.
Should have.
Manning or no.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like my partner Victor Locke said earlier. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Doesn't matter. Did you get the job done?
Nope.
And the answer to that is a resounding no. Matter of fact, what happened to you, Cameron Jarrell Newton, at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara for the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl, you, my friend, since you were so afraid to scramble after a loose football that would have kept your team in the game, you wound up taking a big fat and since that time, you never
recovered. Never recovered.
At least Brock Purdy, not only did he strategically run the football, unlike you, Cam Newton, and I love the fact that you were a fabulous athlete playing quarterback, but Brock Purdy can throw the football pretty good. Noodle arm, my ass. Did you see some of the throws he made last night? Did you see some of the throws? Check that. Did you see some of the plays he made last night? Did you see the way he changed the game?
And can we please finally get rid of this whole narrative of game manager versus game changer?
No, because people like Cam Newton will keep it in place. And I know some other people, Trey Larkins included, who's a very dear friend of mine, that will keep it in place because he's so high on Jordan Love, who has tremendous upside. Don't get it twisted. Jordan Love has a lot of potential, has a lot of tremendous upside. But in a head-to-head matchup, Trey Larkins, your quarterback against mine, your quarterback took and... So it seems to me, Cam Newton, and to a few YouTubers that I've heard make this comment, Brock Purdy and the 49ers didn't get humbled. You did. And to finish this off, you know what else the 49ers did, Cam Newton and haters alike? They stayed with their game plan. And their number one game plan, they ran the football. They ran the football a lot. I have not looked up one stat this morning, but I know what I saw last night. And as Colin Cowherd said quite a few times before, I trust what my eyes tell me. And what my eyes tell me is that the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy are here to stay. What my eyes tell me is that the 49ers have found their franchise quarterback. What my eyes have told me and continue to tell me, they trust Brock Purdy. And you know what's bad, Cam Newton? A future Hall of Fame coach didn't trust you. That's Snowman's take. What is yours? That was fun.
I'm sure it was.
That was fun. Oh, and that was not trolling. That was just me being real.
They're about 60-40.
Excuse me?
Yeah, about 60-40.
60-40 what?
60% telling the truth, 40% troll.
I didn't troll. I just told the truth, man.
You trolled.
How?
Because you could have just ignored it. You could just ignored Cam Newton because Cam Newton is irrelevant.
Stop it. Get some.
But you know me, I'm a diplomat.
You ain't a diplomat. Not
Yes,
anymore.
I am.
You're not.
Well, I still am.
Okay, I have to do it as a joke only.
I don't remember asking you a thing.
Sure you did.
I know I did. I know I did.
But I mean, the thing is that Cam was just the loudest. There are plenty of people who are silent who agree with everything he said.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say it being dishonest. I think he meant it. He just was ignorant to what Brock Purdy's done. There's a difference between being dishonest and being ignorant. Ignorant is when you believe what you say and it's wrong, but you don't want to believe it's wrong. You get what I'm saying? Like bronsexuals.
You have a point. You have a point.
Like Moronic Republic. Being dishonest is when you
now you're trolling. Oh God.
Being dishonest is when you know what you're saying is crap, but you say it anyway because you're trying to get those clicks and likes and all that.
You mean like this? I wouldn't even get to the first note.
I'm gonna say VIKALAAAH was right. He's already trolling. And that's actually more of a cold troll than a snowman troll.
To the Detroit Lions, and as we begin the second half, to the Baltimore Ravens.
You blew it. Capiche?
Oh, and I'm going to have fun with that one, and I'm going to ruffle a lot more feathers.
And I agree with Sick. Why should Cam Newton watch his mouth? Let him run it and leave no doubt of, and leave all doubt of what he is.
Mm-hmm. Which is stupid. Back in a minute.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do two circles, and that translates to I can beat up black people.
As he takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel. Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby!
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
This Wednesday night, Caitlin Clark and the 5th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes pay a visit to Evanston for a date with the Northwestern Wildcats. We will begin our coverage at 7:45 Eastern with the BetUS.com pregame show, and yours truly will take you from start to finish with the play-by-play starting at 8. Jump on to youtube.com/@Snowman Multimedia to follow all of the action. Want to help out the channel? You can help us out with a Cash App to $Tallman Dr. K50 or a Super Chat, and you can like, share, and subscribe to help us get the word out there. We reached our first 1,000. Now let's reach our second 1,000. The second half of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson continues after this.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
He was only 58 years old when he passed away. That outcome could have been different.
Colorado happens to be one of the worst states for radon levels.
It's in our ground, and it seeps up.
The more you breathe radon, the more chance you have of DNA being hit and the cell mutated. The EPA estimates 22,000 lung cancer deaths a year caused by radon.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
We began the second hour of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, and we're going to go 5 minutes off sports here. Okay. This is the question I have asked over and over again, but I will continue to ask it because the sound is in my ear and in my head, and I can't get it out of my head. Who's tougher, Bison or Sagat?
Yeah, it's depending on physical or soul power. Because remember, the psycho power was actually from a soul power. That's what fueled Bison, which is why he seemed like he's unconventionally immortal. In terms of physical power, it's Sagat all the way.
I would not want to face Sagat.
No.
7 feet tall with that kind of muscles.
And the man
all you have to do is just hit me once, and I'm laying down. I ain't getting up.
What, a 2-foot scar on his chest?
And I think Ryu put that there.
Yes, he did with the dragon punch.
Ryu put that there with the dragon punch. I look. I can't do nothing with a
tiger uppercut.
That'll be the only time I learn to fly, and I wouldn't learn to fly because I'd be forced to. I get one. I get one of those. I'm down. I ain't getting up.
And it aggravated me whenever I would try to play against the guy. I would always lose because everyone's always learned how to do anti-air, so I couldn't do any jump kicks.
That's one of the games I never beat because Sagat used to kick my ass every time I'd get to him. I get through Balrog with no problem. Duck his punches and hit him with a couple of uppercuts. You're good there. Vega just depends on speed. So all you have to do is catch him in midair and pile drive him.
Right.
Sagat, I had no chance.
No.
I had no chance. I mean, and he warms up too. He waits, he bounces around, and you're waiting to throw the first punch. And before you even throw the first punch, you get hit with about 3 or 4
tiger.
And as soon as you're wobbly,
uppercut.
That's it.
Game's a match.
As soon as you are wobbly, you get a combo
tiger uppercut,
and nothing could stop that. Right, you also took Sagat's eye as well. I forgot that.
That's true too.
I forgot he took it.
I thought someone else took it.
Shut up, sick. I just saw this.
Oh, yeah, I saw that earlier.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's our 5. That's not only is that our 5 seconds off sports, or minutes in this case. That's also a stroll. Back down memory lane. All right, let's get back to business. Lamar Jackson, you choked.
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens, you choked bad.
John
Harbaugh, it's your fault. John Harbaugh, you should be ashamed of yourself. If I'm a Ravens fan, and we both know quite a few, I'd be totally disgusted.
I'd be embarrassed.
Disgusted, embarrassed. I can't trust the Baltimore Ravens again. Because for the second time in 4 years, they had a playoff game in their house. Divisional round and I'm talking divisional round and above in the Lamar Jackson era.
Mm-hmm. And the questions are about to flow freely because a lot of people are going to say, this is what we paid that big attention for. For you to choke as bad as you did.
Dear Lamar Jackson,
you blew it. Capiche?
You blew it. Here I go again. Now, I'm going to ruffle a lot of feathers among the Ravens flock. I am going to say a couple of things that I've said before about Lamar Jackson, and no one believes me. I hope you believe me now. Okay, here I go, being my inner Cole Johnson. If you thought the Ravens were going to just easily walk to the Super Bowl because they had a home game,
that was a lie.
You blew it, Lamar Jackson. For the second time in 4 years, you had a high playoff game, divisional round and above in your house. Hell, you had the AFC Championship in your hands. If you go back over the course of the season, there are some teams they should not have lost to. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, perhaps. And after the dominating performance you had against the San Francisco 49ers, I said that night that I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Ravens 49ers Super Bowl. I said it aloud. I said it aloud for 2.5 weeks. Then the Kansas City Chiefs exposed you all for the frauds that you are by controlling the football, beating you at your own game, punishing you at your own game, because you got punished. You got socked around, kicked around, and they forced you to become a one-dimensional quarterback. They didn't let you outside of the numbers. They didn't let you outside of the hash marks. They didn't let you play any playground football. Meanwhile, Baltimore, you allowed Patrick Mahomes for the few plays that you did to make some playground plays. Difference, Mahomes made them. Lamar didn't. And as Victor said just a moment ago, we paid all this money to Lamar Jackson for this? The Ravens had a trip to Vegas in their hands, and they blew it. Period. I did the stream yesterday. The tone was set after the first drive of the game, after the Ravens went 3 and out. They were punchless. They were lifeless. They had no nerve. A beautiful pass to Zay Flowers, even the game at 7, but then Kansas City, for the second time, marched right down the field and punched him in the mouth and stuck it in the end zone. And you know the biggest thing about the Baltimore Ravens that shows me they're frauds? Self-inflicted wounds. Self-inflicted wounds. A fabulous catch by Zay Flowers that should have put the ball at the 5-yard line, backed it up to the 20. Why? A personal foul for taunting. You know, Victor said yesterday, I don't mind a little bit of a taunt, and I don't either, but you don't put your hands on the player and push him while he's down. And you did it in front of the officials, Zay Flowers. Against all other opponents, including Houston, Lamar Jackson was spectacular. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line, he looked like a deer in headlights. Which begs the question, has Lamar Jackson regressed just as bad as Jalen Hurts has? I'll pose the question again, and I hope someone answers it. Has Lamar Jackson regressed? Has Lamar Jackson gone backwards instead of forwards? because Victor and quite a few others have said that this was Lamar, that he felt, let me say it correctly, they felt this was Lamar Jackson's year. When we did our picks off the air on Friday, and Victor came to me first and said, what do you think? Do you go Chiefs or Ravens? I go with the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes is the reason. That, except on one occasion, that defense could not touch Patrick Mahomes. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense got beat up and shut down. They got shut down. I was talking with Jay Spivey yesterday while I was on the air. Until Lamar Jackson can prove, and this was said about Brock Purdy, this was said about Jimmy Garoppolo and quite a few other quarterbacks. I'll say the same thing about Tua Tagovailoa, Josh Allen, and quite a few others in this era. Until they can prove that they can win the big games, they're frauds. Period. Now, I can take Jalen Hurts off the list for the trip to the Super Bowl that he made last year, but that should have been a whitewash. That should not have come down to the point that it did last year in Phoenix, Arizona. Up 10 at halftime and you lose by 3. Here's a question, Lamar Jackson. When are you going to grow a set? When are you going to get better? When are you going to actually become a dual threat quarterback against everybody? Those are the 2 key words I need to add. Against everybody. You get Mark Andrews back and you barely use him. Only 3 carries for Gus Edwards. You try to get Justice Hill out of the backfield. That didn't work. To this Baltimore Raven offense and Baltimore Ravens team, you allowed the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that was in disarray 5 weeks ago, to shut you down in your own house. Until the 2-minute warning, you only had 7 points. 7. Kansas City took 17 points that they scored in the first half, leaned on their defense, and they made it stand up. Where's your response? Oh, and by the way, Zay Flowers, part of this is on you for having the ball punched out at the goal line. You turned the ball over twice in the red zone. A fumble at the goal line, a fumble at the 1-yard line, I beg your pardon, and then a very costly interception. Kansas City controlled the game and controlled the clock. 2.5 to 1. And even though you got over 300 yards of offense, you only had 10 points to show for it. 10. They never allowed you to run the football, and you were the best running team in the league, averaging 156 rushing yards per game. Lamar basically had to do everything, and he didn't. He got no help from his teammates. Everything was piled on Lamar Jackson. And I'll say it again. You get Mark Andrews back and you barely use him. You barely use Gus Edwards. And the questions are going to be free flowing. Now what? Where do the Ravens go from here? Where does Lamar Jackson go from here? What more does Lamar Jackson need to do to take his team to a Super Bowl? I'll put it in 3 words. Trust your teammates. When they take you out of your game, get back on it unless it's an absolute blowout. And you had chance after chance after chance, Lamar Jackson, to bring your team back to a tie, and you blew it. You blew it. End of story. And until I see different, you're a fraud. You're a game manager, not a game changer. And the only reason I'm putting that label upon you is you've yet to win the big one. You have yet to take your team to a Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy just did. And I hope and pray to God that the Baltimore Ravens figure it out, because there are some holes on this team they need to fill, and they need to fill them fast. If you want Lamar Jackson to be the all-world quarterback, A, protect him, B, use him. A lot of this is on Harbaugh. A lot of this is on the organization. But after what I saw yesterday, a lot of this is on Lamar Jackson. That's Snowman's take. What is yours? Now I back this up with a 3-word command. Find the lie.
There is no lie.
Find the damn lie.
That's a coin.
Oh, it is a coin, isn't it? May as well make it 2. Damn it. I didn't even get to all of the penalties that the Ravens had yesterday. They got penalized 9 times. Kansas City only got penalized 3 times.
And that's what irked me, was that penalty of the taunting. Usually that's an unsportsmanlike conduct. But the reason why it was a personal foul is because he put his hands near the player.
And shoved him down.
That's not necessary.
It's really not. Kansas City took control of the game the first time they had the ball, marched right down the field, 86 yards in 10 plays, and used 7.5 minutes.
That's a Ndamukong Suh
7.5 minutes.
That's a Ndamukong Suh type of play. You don't need to do that.
No, you don't. Thank you for mentioning Ndamukong Suh. You don't need.
I don't mind taunting. I never have. Because if someone has a problem with you taunting, don't let them score. Don't let them score. It's that simple. Got that from one of my favorite wide receivers, Michael Irvin. But the thing is, I'm talking about the Ravens, you had this game in your grasp and you fumbled it.
They had it in their house. Professor Brian Davis, and the game was not even close. Then the scoreboard reflected Kansas City totally dominated. Find the lie.
There is none.
Find the lie. Lamar Jackson, you blew it. Zay Flowers, you blew it. John Harbaugh, you blew it. Capiche? And let me read what Jay Spivey texted me yesterday. And there were 3 throws where there were a few throws where he threw it into double coverage and triple coverage. The interception he threw into triple coverage. Why are you throwing that pass?
Gunslinger.
Lamar Jackson's going to have to prove he can win one of these games. He's going to have to simply prove it. And then I read something earlier going back to Brock Purdy that really got on my nerve. Where is it? Where is it? I said we direct you, Cam Newton, to shut your face. And then the game manager, game changer argument, which ain't much of an argument. Not after what I saw yesterday.
No.
It ain't much of an argument anymore. It's not. Lamar Jackson is a game manager. Brock Purdy is a game changer. And until I see those roles reverse, I'm not stepping back off of that.
Nor should you.
I'm not. Look, to all of you who think Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, who else? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and a couple of others think are game changers. I direct you to do one thing. Watch the game carefully. Make it 2 things. Take notes. The Super Bowl is set, and if you're heading to Vegas to see the big game, let old Snowman help you with the power of SeatGeek. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for all of your entertainment. Download the app, pick the seats you want at the Super Bowl, and most importantly, use the code Snowman Multimedia for $20 off of your first purchase. That's only with the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan. Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Back in a minute.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crown they get, they palm it and do two circles, and that translates to, I can be the black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, No, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel. Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
I'm already getting responses.
Of course you are.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't bleeping care. I know what my eyes tell me, and I go with it. 2Triv211 in the house. Thanks for joining us. I don't care. I don't bleeping care. Prove me wrong. Who said that? I think it was Chris Benoit. Prove me wrong. Yeah. Prove me wrong. And until you prove me wrong, I'm not backing off.
And of course, he will say, well, and most people will say, well, look at the regular season. Shouldn't that be enough to prove you wrong? Like, no, because in the end, the regular season.
Ask that question again. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Ask that question again.
They'll ask, well, look at how the regular season turned out. Shouldn't that have proven you wrong already?
Bishop?
Woo! Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. To the no, no, no.
And I'm going to say this. The two best quarterbacks all year are playing in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Period. They're the last two standing. One will be standing in 2 weeks, running to the confetti while the other is walking away from the confetti.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco last night, in the midst and in the face of a 17-point deficit, came all the way back, won the game, and ran to the confetti.
Yep.
Hell, they didn't have to run to the confetti. They walked in it.
They ran through it.
They ran to it, through it, and walked in it. Period. Game changed. That's what the thumbnail said this morning, and yours truly put that thumbnail together. Game changed. Brock Purdy changed the game, period. Patrick Mahomes changed the game. And they get to play for the Lombardi Trophy. End of story. End of story. There's a couple other things that Cole sent me. And one of them reads, Ben Simmons could play for the first time since November. Who actually give... Let me do this right now. Where's my coin? There. A dozen coins for me saying, who actually gives 2/5 of a half of a damn if Ben Simmons ever plays again? I certainly don't. I certainly don't. Because I called Ben Simmons. Man, let's stay here. I called Ben Simmons the moment he was drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers. I called Ben Simmons a colossal bust. I called him a colossal bust. And I ain't backing off that. And there's no way he can prove me different. His attitude, his work ethic, or lack thereof, tells me everything I need to know.
Right, not many games he's lost or missed.
Oh, not to mention, by the way, I mentioned the work ethic. I mentioned, oh yeah, there's one other thing. He's too chicken to play. Fool. Speaking of Lamar Jackson, someone shares my opinion, and it's this guy. You know what I love about the guests that I have on our program? They're honest.
Very.
Unlike Cam Newton, they are honest. Jay Spivey's with us right now. Good morning, Jay. How are you, man?
What up? How y'all doing?
Good morning, Mr. Spivey. How you doing?
I'm well.
So am I. So am I. Jay and I talked after the AFC Championship, and I will highlight this one comment that Jay said, and it's so very true, and it ties in to what I said a few moments ago. Lamar Jackson's going to have to prove he can win one of these games. And they paid him, and he wasn't doing it before they paid him, and he hasn't done it after they paid him. The floor is yours, Jay.
Well, I mean, listen, the guy is undeniably a talent that we probably have never seen before.
Exactly.
But he's not proven it in the postseason, and that is where your name is made.
And that's where your money is made.
I mean, he didn't play poorly yesterday, but he didn't play great either. And then the Chiefs really did something against him that most teams don't want to do. They blitzed him, and he doesn't like that.
They blitzed the daylights out of him for 60 minutes. They blitzed the daylights out of him. And Jay, I know you'll agree with me, as Victor did earlier and a few others did. The first drive of the game where Baltimore had the ball, they got the kickoff, had a chance to establish something. They did nothing.
Well, that's kind of been. Listen, I think probably pound for pound, you could argue that John Harbaugh, not Jim, is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Yep. He's done a phenomenal job. And frankly, I was thinking about this yesterday. Frankly, from top to bottom, the Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL for over the past several years. Well, systems, programs, whatever you want to call it. And they draft well every year. Their free agents they pick really good players for their free agents. They promote coaches well. They do everything well. But they're going to have to win one of these games. And the one Super Bowl they won recently was when they beat the 49ers, when it was Harbaugh versus Harbaugh.
Yep. Super Bowl 47 in New Orleans.
I mean, they're going to have to at least reach a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson here soon.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't. Yesterday, they kind of fell flat on their face because the Chiefs, whether it be Mahomes or Reed or whomever else, or Kelsey or whatever, they have dominated the AFC recently.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
And they don't have. Granted, they're probably not. They haven't won nearly so many Super Bowls as they or their fans would have liked, but they have dominated the AFC. And they had a chance right on there. I didn't even know this until yesterday. The first time that the Ravens have played host to the championship game in Baltimore.
Yep.
And did not do anything with it yesterday. Had a chance fully on their platter and didn't do it.
And the other two times they won the AFC, they beat the Raiders in Oakland and they beat the Patriots in Foxborough. It's the first time they've ever hosted a conference championship game and they fell flat.
Yep.
Very flat.
I mean, the Chiefs, for whatever reason, and this Chiefs team is not as dominant as the ones in the past by any stretch. Because it's like at some point with these quarterbacks, I mean, and obviously they had to with Mahomes. When he was younger, I mean, they could pay all these guys whatever they want because they didn't have to pay his salary.
Right.
But there comes a point where you got to pay your quarterbacks, and I mean, you know, his contract's pretty team friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you got to pay the guy, and you can't keep some of the players like like Hill. I mean, they had to trade him to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could you imagine him with this team?
What makes it even scarier, and I'm going back to Cam Newton's comments, and I know I'm gonna let Jay loose with this. The game changer / game manager comments. What we saw yesterday was one quarterback who was labeled a game changer become a game manager, and the opposite of that yesterday as well.
I still think that's a stupid argument. Because what are you as the quarterback supposed to do? Manage the game in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
So there is between a game manager and a game changer, just so long as you're changing the game in your favor.
Well, if you're talking exclusively about the AFC Championship, I don't see either one of those guys as game managers. Now, if Lamar Jackson gets in trouble and decides to run it on every play, which he can sometimes do, which he didn't really do that yesterday, because I think the blitz was bothering him up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see him as being a game manager either.
Right. I mean, he was I'll say it again. I've loved Lamar Jackson since his days at Louisville, but going back to your point, Jay, he's got to win one of these.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw him play once in person in college, and I go to almost all the Wake Forest home games, and he happened to play here 1 year, and I mean Wake couldn't stop him. They could not stop the guy, and Wake had dominated the entire game, and he came back and almost won the game.
Yeah,
so strictly on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
Could not stop the guy.
Couldn't stop him at all. Could not stop him at all.
Now, yeah, I heard last night the other good thing, the NFC game last night. They were talking where Purdy's known as a game manager. I don't see that at all.
I don't either.
And I don't think Shanahan looks at him as a game manager.
I don't think anyone does. But again, it seems like that's a really dumb label to put on Brock Purdy because, again, as a quarterback, you're supposed to manage the game. You're supposed to not make mistakes. You're supposed to make positive plays so that you can score a touchdown, so that you can win games.
You're not supposed to put your team in peril.
Right. So whether you're a game manager or game changer, it's irrelevant.
Man, you heard me when they lost 3 in a row early in the year. You told me when everybody's talking about MVP voting, all this.
Yeah.
Whether it be Purdy or McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. Their MVP is neither one of them. Their MVP is Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
They even they were talking about last night during the game. They can't run half the plays without him.
Without Deebo. Without Deebo, this is a whitewash.
They're a totally different team without Deebo.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not a game. Purdy's not a game manager. I mean, somebody has to distribute the ball, and he made some really good decisions last night.
Very good decisions.
And they talk about he's not a very good athlete. I don't see that at all.
You know what gives Purdy an advantage, in my opinion? I've spoken about this before. 3 years as a starter in high school, 4 years as a starter at Iowa State. There's your advantage.
Yeah.
He's been coached up at both levels. He's being coached up by Mike Shanahan, and now he's proven himself.
I'm not sure there's a better. Well, you might have the two. Matter of fact, you might have the two best offensive play callers in the league going against each other in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl,
exactly. I mean, Andy Reid and Brian Shanahan are easily two of the best play callers.
Easy. You can't. I have no argument for that. I have no argument for that.
Do you think all his whiners that the Chiefs had about, they need to keep it? What's his name that went to the
enemy?
Commanders? Eric Bieniemy. Yes. All those people said they should have kept him. How's that working out now?
Not too good.
He didn't have a very good season with the Commanders.
And it's going to get worse before
I kept saying over and over and over, and it was obvious watching the games. Andy Reid was the real offensive coordinator.
And no one believed it, which is crazy to me.
Just watch the games, you can see what's doing what.
It's too easy to decipher who the real play caller was, and it wasn't Eric Bieniemy. He was offensive coordinator in name only.
Exactly.
I've said that, and you're seeing the results with him in Washington. You are seeing the results. Speaking of results, the North Carolina Lady Tar Heels, ranked 20th in the nation until today, got smacked by a 10-win Virginia team. Meanwhile, I'll do it. Certain people don't want to bring up Caitlin Clark, who only had 38.
Don't even want to bring up the Carolina women's team or any other sport at Carolina. There's only two sports in his mind at that school. They have one of the preeminent athletic organizations in the NCAA. They really do. I can't stand Carolina, but they do. And you only talk about two teams, and really just one, if you want to talk about it.
Only one.
Really one.
And it goes back to the conversation.
He couldn't tell you who's on a tennis team or a golf team or rowing or whatever the heck else Carolina has.
He doesn't want to tell you.
No.
He doesn't want to tell you. And it goes back to a conversation Jay and I had 2 years ago, right after I came out of surgery. What was the bigger game? The national championship or beating Duke in the Final Four in New Orleans?
It wasn't just him. This was a lot of Carolina fans.
Yeah.
You can't explain that mentality to me. I'm sorry. You play to win the game.
Thank you,
Herman. You don't play to beat Duke. You don't play to beat Duke. You don't play to beat Krzyzewski.
You play to win the national championship.
We don't care. We beat Duke. Will Krzyzewski's last game. That's all we cared about. And people jumped all over me for saying that.
Well, they jumped all over me, too.
And I'm sorry. Do you think Kansas felt the same way?
No.
And frankly, had Duke beat Carolina, do you think they would have felt that way had they beat Kansas in the national championship? No.
No, not a chance.
No. And they gear up for this game all year. And here they're playing this Saturday night. And no matter who wins, Carolina will talk about it from now to the end of the year.
Yep.
They gear up this game as soon as the season starts. They don't worry, and they worry about what Duke's doing. Worry about yourself.
And they don't.
Nope.
They barely won this weekend.
No.
I stress the word barely.
That's because you guys strive for excellence. Excellence is win the championship. Going to the big dance.
That's what it's supposed to be.
I think most teams do that. Carolina fans. Well, I put in quotes Carolina fans because there's a lot of Carolina fans in name only. They're not true fans.
No, they're not. They're not.
But you can't explain that mentality to me. I don't care whether it's Carolina or anybody else. You play to win. You don't care that you lost to Kansas in the national championship when you came one game away from winning it all.
That's why I kind of got
annoyed. And you care about beating Carolina instead the game before.
Actually,
beat Duke at me.
Actually, they came within 17 minutes of winning the
national
championship because they led by double digits at the half.
Right.
They led by double digits at the half, and they lost by double digits.
And that didn't seem to faze these fans. And again, I put them in parentheses, in quotes.
It's why I get annoyed with some Sox fans sometimes. Where like, well, we won the the Crosstown Cup against the Cubs. I don't care.
Who cares?
That means nothing. Why are they not the last team standing?
It means nothing.
I want the World Series championship.
That's
nothing. What I want.
If they were so excited about, or so passionate, that's the word I should use, about winning the World Series about winning the World Championship instead of the doggone Crosstown Cup, which doesn't mean that much anymore because the rest of the season's a wash.
Never meant anything.
It's kind of like the argument with Ohio State and Michigan. And I've heard so many fans on both sides say to me, we don't care how bad our season is as long as we beat Ohio State.
That team of the North.
That team of the North, exactly.
That's a horrible mentality to have.
It's the same mentality as Carolina and Duke. And I don't see Duke fans being nearly to the level that Carolina fans are in terms of that mentality. I generally think Duke fans don't concern themselves unless they play each other. And they're playing each other this Saturday. Now, whoever wins, if they lose, I'm sure they'll be upset and we'll go on to the next game when they play in March. But to worry about what Duke's doing every single game, who cares?
And not worry about
and you think Duke is not going to make the NCAA return because they lose 4 or 5 or 6 games? No.
Worry about your record, not everybody else.
There is not a really good men's basketball team this year.
There really isn't.
You look on any given night, and everybody loses. Everybody loses.
There, and you said it. There's not a really good men's basketball team.
And I had nothing to do whatsoever Saturday. I went to grab some lunch, ran a couple errands, and generally I would have watched some of the men's games. But I intentionally sat down at 2:00. I set my whole schedule aside at 2:00 that Saturday to watch Caitlin Clark play because she is appointment viewing.
She is.
She's 100% appointment viewing.
And she dropped 38 on Nebraska in a 19-point.
Right. Now they're playing this Saturday night head-to-head against Carolina, Duke, by the way, on Fox. As they're at Maryland on Saturday.
They're at Maryland.
Carolina.
Yep, they're at Maryland Saturday night. They got Northwestern this Wednesday, which is a classic trap game for Iowa. It's a classic trap game. But as you said, Saturday they're going head to head with Duke and Carolina, and God help me, I'll take a chance in doing that game Saturday with Iowa and Maryland. Speaking of games, what's this game that the same person or persons that we talk about will not mention the fact that the preseason #1 in college baseball just happens to be your Wake Forest Demon Deacons?
And we're #1 up until the College World Series last year when they lost to LSU.
In extra innings.
Yeah,
nothing.
What many consider one of the best games, if not the best game in college baseball history.
And I watched every single out of that game.
And
that home run came on a 2-strike pitch. That 2-run walk-off home run for LSU came on a 2-strike pitch
against 2 of the best pitchers in college baseball.
Yep.
And we're 2 of the top, I believe, 8 or 9 picks in the draft.
You want to talk about appointment viewing? There you go.
And for those people who say, hey, listen, yes, I understand that was a great game, but there are a lot of people around here that say, well, the real national championship was Florida State and LSU. No, I'm sorry.
It wasn't.
What the real national championship was Wake and LSU. And I said, no, it wasn't. Florida played LSU in the national championship. That was the real national championship, whether Wake fans want to admit it or not. That's the way it was.
Yes.
Right.
Now the Wake LSU series was probably better as a whole, still, Florida State, Florida and LSU was the real College World Series.
It was. And it was a roller coaster kind of series because you had one blowout in game 2, and then you had another blowout in game 3.
And Wake had listen to me. I'm not saying Wake choked because I really don't think they choked. They just get score. I guess they're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country in LSU, and that was proven.
Yep.
But I mean, they had a chance to win the first game and didn't win. They even had a chance to win the second game and didn't win. I mean, all they had to do was win one game, and they didn't do it.
That's all they had to do was win one game. That's all they had to do.
Well, the first game was probably more important than the second game because I understand you give yourself a little wiggle room when all you have to do is win one game out of 2.
Yep.
But when you have everything in your control and you don't win that first game, it puts a lot of added pressure on you that second game.
And it's a lot of added pressure that's not necessary. Down the stretch, Wake Forest just couldn't score runs.
And I mean, here we're coming up. We're 2.5 weeks from the regular season starting. They're the prohibitive preseason number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had a lot of losses, even through the draft and seniors who transfer and everybody else.
And they're
still the prohibitive number 1.
And they're still the preseason number 1. They're still the preseason number 1, and I love it. I love it, and I'm going to follow them.
Good.
I'm going to follow them.
Well, up until recently, they're basically sold out of tickets already for almost every game.
And you're surprised why?
I never even entered anybody's mind until a year or 2 ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of fans, it's like you said, Jay, a lot of fans are coming out of the woodwork. A few that we know that are really not. Oh man, Jay and I were talking back and forth about some of the quote unquote fans of Wake Forest baseball that couldn't even tell you who is in their starting lineup, and they could give you a scorecard at the gate. They can give you a score. Victor, you know the kind of fans we deal with, and Jay, you know them also. They can give you a scorecard at the gate with the names on there, and all you have to do is ask them, look at your scorecard and tell me who's batting 5th, and they wouldn't be able to do it.
Nope. Listen, Wake's best pitcher is Rhett Lauder, who ended up being drafted about 8th or 9th overall. I forgot what it was, but that's a moot. That doesn't matter one way or the other about what I'm ready to say. But he's got a distinctive look to him. He's a tall, skinny kid. He's got real long hair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I bet even a lot of people around here in town had passed him at a restaurant or wherever else. Wouldn't know who he was. And he's got a distinctive look.
Didn't know he was.
No. But if he were Armando Baycott, people would know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Because he goes to Carolina.
Let's see. What did you say, Jay? Priorities?
Yeah.
And there ain't any right now in college sports?
None.
Well, that's why Caitlin Clark is, I don't care. I had this argument with a friend of mine last week, and he disagreed with me. She is by far the most important person in college athletics right now. And he said, in your opinion. And I honestly, I don't see anybody who's even remotely close to her.
I don't either. I do not either.
And I think
there's no way you can say there's no one else.
I know she hasn't said one way or the other about which way she's leaning in terms of the WNBA draft. Mm-hmm. But I think she's crazy if she enters the draft because she'd make a whole lot less money in the WNBA.
I mean, she could use her final year of eligibility and make a ton more and have a bigger impact than if she declares for the WNBA after this year.
Well, it's rumored she's making $918,000 for NIL. She's not gonna make anywhere close to that WNBA.
Not even close. Which kind of messes me up because the NBA had a chance to like really fund the WNBA and they didn't do it.
And they should have. And look how popular it's become.
Mm-hmm. But they don't want to take advantage. They don't want to hop on it and take advantage of it unless something's coming back to them.
Nope. And the only way that's going to change is if you get somebody. And I hate to say this. Yeah, I know how you feel about it the way I do. If LeBron would step in, they would do it.
Yeah, they would, but he won't.
No, he won't.
But he won't step in.
No,
because it's not all about him.
No.
The person that was going to change it, unfortunately, left us prematurely, and his name was Kobe Bean Bryant.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
Yes, indeed.
The one person that was going to change the fate of the WNBA was Kobe Bryant.
Because of his close friendship with Lisa Leslie.
Yep.
And his daughters.
And his daughter, all his daughters.
Yeah.
Gigi especially, because man, this is coming, and I've covered the WNBA. I covered the Chicago Sky for 4 years.
I remember.
The popularity was right on the cusp. And when Kobe
red hot.
It was.
It was red hot back in the day.
It was, but it wasn't to the point where it is now. And financially, dear God, they could have taken full advantage of that. And Kobe was on his way to doing that. He had the foundation in place. And unfortunately, I have to use the past tense. I have to say had.
Yes. Still doesn't feel real to me.
And to look at the amount of stars they have in that league and how many they've had. I was watching the Notre Dame UConn women's game Saturday night, and they honored a lot of their former stars, and a lot of them were there. Sue Bird and Taurasi and Maya Moore and Brianna Stewart, and it went on and on and on. There were many former players who were there Saturday night.
Yeah,
just to look at that one program alone has done for the WNBA and for women's basketball in general. Just that one school alone. Now, you can debate all you want. In my humble opinion, and this is nothing, I'm not trying to say anything negative about her at all. She was phenomenal. But in my humble opinion, Diana Taurasi is the best women's basketball player ever. Now, you can say Cheryl Miller if you want, and I won't really have a negative argument one way or the other. But to me, Diana Taurasi, you look at her resume, it's untouched.
It is.
Her resume is unbelievable.
And there's no one that can touch it, I would say, until now with Caitlin Clark. And I've watched Diana Taurasi's entire career.
Now, I hope as we head into Olympics here in July, Caitlin has to, I mean, she doesn't have to, but do you think NBC wouldn't love a Caitlin Clark or her on the women's Olympic team?
Man, please. That would be, you want to talk about appointment viewing? There you go.
And I know there's a million other women's players who can play. Because you're going to have all the WNBA players playing too. But you almost have to have her on the team.
I mean, that's a must. You would think it's a must.
It would have to be a must.
You would think it's a must for Caitlin Clark to play.
And that goes, even the dream team with Leitner on. I mean, she's way better than Leitner was in terms of appeal.
In terms of appeal and in terms of ability. Let me say it again. In terms of appeal and in terms of ability. This is just, it's too obvious. It's too easy to make that decision.
Right.
You would think it would be.
It should be.
You would think it would be.
Well, even if she's like the quote unquote last player on the bench, which seems crazy to even think about. But if she's there just to be there. Don't you think that's a great marketing tool?
The best marketing tool. And if she plays,
they're probably going to win anyway, with her or without her.
And if she if she plays, it's even more of an impact. Hell, I've said it on this program. I've loved the women's game more than I love the men's game.
Yeah,
I mean, if you would have told me a couple of years ago I'd be setting my whole Saturday afternoon aside to watch one player play in women's basketball, I said you're crazy. But I literally pulled up a couch and watched her entire game Saturday.
Good. I'll have Iowa Northwestern on Wednesday and showing a few people how it's done. And Jay knows where that reference is.
Well, I wish she played somewhere close to here. She played here in Charlotte right when the season started. I wish I'd gone down there and watched them play because they played Virginia Tech and Charlotte to start the season. I wish I'd gone there and seen them play because I'm probably going to regret not ever seeing her play.
I wish I'd have been there. I wish I'd have been there on Radio Row to call that game. Forget watching it play. I'd love to have been there to call that game.
I mean, I live less than an hour and a half away. I should have gone.
Well, I think there'll be some more chances. I don't think she's going to leave.
Well, I mean, she can do whatever she wants. I mean,
Right.
money wise, I don't think she. But I really think she's making a mistake. It goes to the WNBA this year.
Agreed. Jay Spivey joining us here on the program as he does every single Monday. Check out the YouTube channel as the Spivey Notes will begin to appear. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
So long, Sam. We got to scram. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they're simply not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. We are, and we hope y'all are too. We're out of here. See you tomorrow. You think I went hard at Cam Newton today? I got a bigger clap back tomorrow. See you later.